Big day for quarterbacks. Tua and Jordan Love both got paid. Tua, he had more guaranteed money. His contract was 4 year, 212 million. His guaranteed money was higher than Jordan Love's. Really got the same contract as Jared Goff. And looking at the Dolphins, like it makes more sense to pay Tua than it does to franchise tag him and have a season where, championship expectations are on this team. The roster is good enough. You brought in a new defensive coordinator. The players on the defense didn't vibe well with Vic Fangio, whatever. The offense, Odell Beckham Jr. is in there. You had a pretty good draft, I feel like. So you can compete. The expectations are high, but it's just going to be like, is Tua going to show up in the playoffs? And they just paid him. You don't want to franchise tag him. In my mind, that would have been the wrong move. And how this contract is set up, it's a pretty decent, payday. It's not a deal that's like, huge overpay. He's not going to be one of the highest paid quarterbacks. I don't think he deserved that. But with what he's done with this Dolphins team, regular season, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Led the NFL in passing yards this last season. Last 2 seasons, this Dolphins offense has been one of the best offenses in football. Mike McDaniel's done a great job creating an offense around Tua and having success around him. Tua sometimes can be limited. He's injury prone. And in the playoffs, when it's cold, he's ass. Him and Dak. But Tua, getting this deal, I think this was the right decision. It's just like, the ceiling has already been met with the Dolphins and him. I feel like they're always just going to be in the playoffs, scratching to get in the playoffs. And once they play the Chiefs or Buffalo, they're not going to host a playoff game, I don't think. With how good that division is and how good the AFC is, they'll make the playoffs, but they're not going to host a playoff game. And if they don't host a playoff game, they're cooked. With the Buffalo Bills, if they play in Buffalo or they play at Arrowhead, we saw at Arrowhead last playoffs, man, it was cold as fuck over there, and the Dolphins were cooked. Tyreek Hill was dropping passes. Tua looked ass. So come playoff time, yeah, Tua's not showing up. And I haven't seen anything that's going to change my mind on that. I don't think it'll change this season. I don't think he'll show up in the playoffs again. I would have liked them to take Michael Penix Jr. That would have been really interesting, but we saw how desperate and how bad the Falcons wanted him, so things didn't fall their way on that. Personally, I don't think Tua is a guy to win you a Super Bowl. I don't think him as your quarterback, there's going to be limitations. He's injury prone, like I said, and playoffs, he doesn't show up. I don't think he's in my top 10 quarterbacks list. He's a good quarterback in the regular season. If it was regular season quarterbacks, he would be 3 or 4. He's just that good in the regular season. But in terms of playoff success and just overall what it takes to be a good quarterback, I don't think he's in that top 10. There's some quarterbacks in the NFC I would take above him, and some quarterbacks in the AFC I would take above him. Jordan Love, heck, I would take Jordan Love over Tua, just because I seen Jordan Love in his first season as a starter go out there with the youngest roster in the NFL. Last 5 games of the season, 18 passing touchdowns, 1 interception, and he beat the Cowboys. And he almost beat the 49ers too. The fourth quarter was bad performance from him, threw that interception damn near to end the game. But Jordan Love, I've seen that it factor. I've seen that Aaron Rodgers feel he has to him. I think Jordan Love being tied with Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence as the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, it makes sense to me. I would have gave him that deal. I know it's crazy to think, him, sitting for 3 seasons behind Aaron Rodgers, learning from him. And then after that season, you pay him after 1, fluke season. Maybe that's how some people are looking at it as. And, the start to the season was a little, there was some struggle there. But just the performance he put on the last couple games and in the playoffs, he showed up. I think he deserves to get that money with the youngest roster in the NFL, like I said. And with Matt LaFleur, I think this team, he's only going to get better. Josh Jacobs is on this roster too now. So with those young receivers that they have out there, Christian Watson, if Dobbs and those guys can stay healthy, yeah, the Packers are going to be pretty scary. And he has that Aaron Rodgers feel to him, his play style, just some of the throws he can make, the confidence he plays with. He beat the Bears twice, so he has that. He's carried over that legacy of, dominating the Bears. Sad to say, being a Bears fan, but Jordan Love has that it factor. He has the potential to be a top 5 quarterback in the league, I think, if he could put together a more consistent season this year and have some more playoff success. He's that fucking good, and, he could be in top 10 quarterbacks list. Right now, he's not in mine, but he definitely could be in that conversation just off 1 year alone, just how special that year was in my mind. Some people thought the NFC North was going to be the worst division division in football this season. They thought it was going to be as bad as the NFC South.